I don't know exactly how much I'll cover. With Elliot also has this in the report. Quite interesting. Um, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was actually done at faculty, which was I was very impressed, and they're taking care of COVID quite well as well, just to say the least. But Elliot will probably elaborate more on what is it that we exactly talked about, as I can see it in his report. But yeah, any questions? Nice. Seeing none, we'll move on to student body president Elliot Meyer. Go ahead.
Hey everyone. Okay, so I'll talk about faculty meeting, but I've got some stuff before that to talk about. The executive committee, this is an update for all the presidents. We will be moving it to another day of the week. I've got them all written down on my piece of paper right in front of me right now. I don't think we had a date or a day or time that I suggested on Doodle that everyone could meet at, so we're just gonna have to try to figure out one, and I can throw out at a couple. If you guys aren't doing anything after this meeting, I'm not planning on having a 3-hour meeting tonight, nor will I ever be planning on having a 3-hour meeting again. That's pretty much it. So hopefully the rest of these meetings from here on out will be about an hour, hour and 15, maybe 2. But 2 is pretty much max. But if you want to try to meet right after this meeting, that would be great. It should take a couple minutes just to figure out some stuff. Moving on, Jorge and I will be having a meeting with Heidi and President Kelleher tomorrow afternoon. I'm not actually quite sure what the meeting entails. I'm fairly certain it's going to be something regarding the advancements potentially in diversity and inclusion. I know that they were talking potentially about that, and it might also be some COVID concerns as well. We haven't had our monthly meeting with either of those 2 individuals like we typically do in the past. So that could be in place of that. So we'll give you an update next week on what took place in that meeting and what we learned. We could also potentially just share it with you in GroupMe. Let me know what you guys prefer. Literally, I could just do this exact same report a week later, or I could just share it with you immediately. So you can tell me that in discussion when we get to that part. Moving forward, we are also in the process of filling the positions for the ACCDEI, which is the replacement for the President's Committee on Diversity and Inclusion. It's the All-Campus Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. That's the full title of that committee. We have a potential, I'll explain that when we get down to the bottom, because we have some stuff that we might need to discuss before voting on those members. So we could hold off on that, but I'll explain when we get down there. And then finally, some updates regarding faculty questions on demands. So this was discussed a little bit in the faculty committee meeting or faculty meeting today that we had. If you're not familiar with the faculty meeting is, it's basically every month on Wednesday, all of the faculty committee or all the faculty members, so all professors on campus get together to have a meeting. Today, and typically it's not very exciting, honestly. They go about parts of the handbook. They talk about EPCC, which is a committee that I believe Piscazi Redditch is on right now. Also, I need to change your name, Piscazi. But typically they don't talk about, it's not a very engaging meeting, I will say that, and I think that's pretty recognized. But today there was a lot of discussion, one on the demands they were asked about, and then also 2 were the COVID situation and some of the numbers that they were giving out that might not be the most accurate. Someone asked I can't remember what specific professor, and Jorge might be able to elaborate more if I miss a part, because he was also present in the meeting. Someone asked why that Simpson isn't sharing who's all in quarantine or what the number of students are that are currently in quarantine, and also questioned the policy of sending students home because that's endangering the families and also potentially spreading coronavirus just to like Iowa in general, because everybody at Simpson's kind of spread out when they go home. So that question was posed to members of the CMT, crisis management team, who established most of the policies regarding COVID. They are going to release an updated, I believe, website, or at least they considered potentially releasing an updated website that would include those numbers that are not currently on the website that has the number for COVID cases. I'm actually not quite sure where even to find the number of how many COVID cases are on. Honestly, I've been watching Tatum's whiteboard in her room, and that's how I I figure out how many people have had COVID. So maybe even potentially making that more accessible to students. I don't know, and you guys can also offer this up when we have questions at the end of my report, as to if other students are experiencing this or if I'm just dumb. So that can be brought up. So in regards to the other part of the faculty committee meeting, which was the demands that were sent out via the student government association's email on the 2nd of September, which coincided with the protest. Some of the faculty committee members also emailed the SGA account pretty much that day, asking questions in regard to what the demands, or clarifying specific demands. One of the demand questions was how, if the rule around Confederate symbols was 100% or allowed for classrooms that are talking about like Civil War, where they actually have to show the Confederate flag because that's part of the curriculum. So that's just one of the questions. There's a couple. I updated everybody at the faculty meeting that I've been in process with several students who drafted those. 2 of those members, I believe, are in this meeting with me right now. I have not received responses from everybody for that meeting, when that will take place, but we're in conversation with them to potentially go over and clarify some of those demands. Realistically, I think most of the demands that I've looked over, or the questions about the demands, are stuff that I could answer potentially, but I don't want to speak on behalf of the people who actually wrote those demands. At the end of the day, I think that they're asking us to clarify, but I don't really see it as SGA's responsibility to clarify, but at least maybe mediate the conversation which clarifies it, or kind of oversee or whatever. So that's what I feel like our role has been, and that's what I also informed everybody in the faculty meeting this afternoon. So you can ask any questions you'd like about that. I see a couple hands up. I'm going to finish up my report and then we can go to it. Finally, projects. So in the previous years, 3 years that I've been on SGA, 2 of the years we've all gotten together and during an SGA meeting, not actually did an SGA meeting, but kind of like just sat in the room. Typically we've done food with it. Obviously we won't do food with it this year. We called it a retreat a couple years ago, but basically what we did was we all got together and just came up with brainstormed ideas for projects that we could potentially do. Because SGA is in control of a lot of money, most of which gets rolled over every year. SGA has also sponsored a ton of projects on campus. Several of those include the chairs that you see all around. That was an SGA funded project that I love and nobody can talk bad about, especially anyone that ran on the platform that's currently on here right now. We also helped to fund parts of the library upstairs. You can see a plaque up on the 3rd floor of the library. That was a result of a project that SGA did, as well as Holy Grounds. We also funded a large portion of Holy Grounds with the student activities fund money that was rolled over from previous years. And that was before me, but that's just a few examples. So they can really range from really big projects to really small projects. It's literally, if you have an idea in mind that you would like to see that would better student life, I'm definitely willing to hear that as a way to use that funding, especially because we would hate to see that money just keep getting rolled over, and we keep just increasing the stockpile of money that we have without doing anything. Interesting suggestion, Drake. Maybe. So if you have any ideas, we might do that next week. So just keep that on your radar. And then finally, SGA apparel. This might be also my way to thank you all, because in the last 4 weeks that we've had our school, we've had 3-hour meetings every single week, basically. And that is just unheard of in terms of SGA. And I think that's phenomenal, but also exhausting, and I recognize that. And I would like to get the conversation started on SGA apparel as a result. Everybody is entitled, I guess, allowed. As you're a member of SGA, you get to get either a quarter zip or a t-shirt, sometimes both, and some other stuff. So I'd like to potentially get that conversation started. It would typically be on the people. Fanny packs would be a good idea. That's a good point too. It would typically be tasked to the previous committee, Internal Affairs and Programming. Obviously, our new committee is now CCC, which is a Campus Connections Committee. I envision them also taking over this type of project too. I believe it's also written into the Constitution that this is their section. So I would just like to throw that out as a potential project for you guys to get started on. So I saw a bunch of hands raised. I'd love to answer questions. So I am done. Jorge, you can call on them.
All right. So Drake, go ahead.
Is there a student representative on CMT?
No, there is not.
I think that's a problem.
That's a really good question. I can ask them tomorrow during our meeting. I don't envision them saying yes, to be realistically frank, I guess. That doesn't mean I can't ask, I guess, still, but I don't really see them changing that rule. CMT.
I talked with the professor on CMT, and I'm not gonna like reveal who they are, but they said that SGA or students need a representative at that table, and like at the situation, if you're not at the table, then like you're being left out. And so I think we need to have a representative at that table.
As I said, I'm meeting tomorrow with Heidi and President Kelleher, and we can definitely bring it up. I think that's something that we should validly bring up, and I also think it's something that directly impacts students heavily. So I agree. So we can bring it up. Thank you for that.
Very good. Laskasi, go ahead.
So two things. First, Elliot, for the faculty meeting, can you send out a new doodle poll, because all of those dates have already passed? So
yes, they did. That could have been just in general, I guess. It didn't have to be this week or next week, but yeah, I can send out another one. I know that a couple people responded to it, but not everybody. So
yeah, I didn't. I tried to do it on my laptop.
You were one of them, yes.
I tried to do it on my laptop, and the interface was weird, and I was like, nope, can't do it. So I just decided not to do it at all. But second thing, can you please tell President Kelleher that faculty training is still not mandatory? And that would be fantastic if she could do that, because I don't care about these new rounds of diversity training if they're still not mandatory. So just throwing that out there.
Very good. Jordan, go ahead.
For the retreat, you might have missed it. I might have missed it. Is it going to be on Zoom, or are we going to still try to do some sort of like in-person way of doing it?
I mean, I would love to do it in person. Believe me, as much as the next person, I would love to honestly just be in meeting right now in person. I've talked to Rich a little bit about potentially a meeting in person in like Hubble or something. I don't know if that's going to be allowed with especially the new regulations that they're beginning to roll out as we get closer and closer to, I think, yellow. But we'll see. I think I would like to do it in person. I'll let you know. I'll be in talk with people. I would like to do it in person. If we have to do it on Zoom, we have to do it on Zoom. So
I think the hope is that we can do it in person, but I think the reality is, I think it's going to come back to, like Elliot said, depending upon what place we are with phases and all that sort of good stuff. So at this point, I would anticipate it's going to be all on Zoom because one, I don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable position if they're not comfortable being around a large group of people, and two, we're going to have to live within whatever policies are set up by the college.
I have something I can talk about discussion, an idea for that, but I'll save for that.
Very good. Any other questions or comments with regards to Elliot's report? Elliot, go ahead.
I forgot to add in my report, I have SGA comment box comments that we talked about that we were going to do last week, but were unable to do last week. So those are now down in general discussion.
Very good. Yeah, anything else for you guys? All right, we'll move on to senior class president, Casey Spring. Go ahead.
So this week, we don't actually have any new budgets to do for FAC. The one big, I guess, like update or announcement is that I'm going to work with Rich either later this week or early next week to create kind of a how-to video for how to submit budgets, what that process looks like, when you need to do it, what should be included in your budget, that we're going to upload to the website so that people have a place to go for a resource that kind of lays it out really clearly, in the hopes that we have less problems with budgets in the future. And we want organizations to be able to hold events. It's what makes being at college fun. And so we're trying to make it easier and more accessible, especially for newer organizations that maybe don't know how to do this yet.
So any questions or comments? Heaven, go ahead.
Yeah, I think just from what happened today, we had a meeting scheduled and the person that was supposed to meet us didn't show up. So I think going forward, we need to consider like a sort of penalty or some sort of like, hey, you need to be at a meeting that you've scheduled with FAC. Because it was honestly like kind of, I don't want to say a waste of time because we did get some good discussion about the budget, but we could have sat there for a whole hour and they would have not shown up.
So Elliot and then David. So Elliot, go ahead.
I think that's punishment is totally a reasonable thing to do. I would shy away from punishing that detracts their money from their original budget. That's specifically because last year we took on an initiative that would try to encourage more people to get money. We rolled over a ton of money the previous year to that that we don't really want again. And considering we also rolled over a lot of money last year, I want to encourage organizations to get money, and just because they don't show up for a meeting, I don't think they should just get money ripped away from them for that. So,
very good. David, go ahead. You're on mute.
I have a funky microphone. Sorry. More to Heaven's point about punishment. We did also discuss that there had been multiple occurrences of multiple organizations that just continuously disregarded the finance code repeatedly. So we were in the meeting discussing some options to reprimand them in some way or encourage them to really adhere to the finance code. So I guess we can lump all that stuff within there. You on that?
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments with regards to Casey's report? Alrighty. We'll move on to junior class president, Tatum Claiborne.
I believe Scott has a question, Jorge.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
I just want to clarify, Casey, did you say that there are no new budgets to be voted on this week?
Yes, we were gonna have a Latinos Unidos budget to vote on, but they didn't come to the meeting and propose the budget. They've rescheduled for next week though. And so we'll hear that budget hopefully next week and be able to vote on that for next week. So nothing new budget-wise today.
Yeah, that was my secondary question because I didn't see a recommendation for that budget. I just saw the proposed, so thank you.
Yeah.
Right on. Any other questions? Very good. So now we'll move on to junior class president, Tatum Claiborne. Tatum, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So my report isn't too different from last week's. I'm sending out a doodle poll to the president and vice president of, nope, just the president. I don't have a list of vice presidents. A list to all the presidents for a doodle poll so we can get the meeting scheduled. I am aiming to have the first meeting before October 7th. Like, that's my personal deadline. I want to get that done as soon as possible. And then I'm also trying to figure out what exactly President Kelleher wants this meeting to be about. I sent her an email. She hasn't responded. But it's okay. I'll email her again tomorrow. And then if anyone has any more ideas for apparel for student leaders, please send them to me. I got a lot of good, like some people Snapchatted me during the meeting last time and with some really good ideas. So if you have any more ideas on apparel, or if you have any ideas of like gifts or pieces of recognition for student leaders on campus, please let me know. That is all. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Super sorry. I'll add this into my report lane. I'm so sorry. We are still doing mandatory bias training for the heads of organizations. That's still happening. Want to make that very clear. That's all.
Very good. Thank you. So questions or comments? Casey, go ahead.
For the meeting with like the presidents of all the organizations, if there's an opportunity, I would love to come talk about budgets. Oh, Tatum wants to go again.
Yeah, Tatum, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Casey. I was planning on having you at that first meeting to go over budget requests. David sent me a really nice little PowerPoint that they used last year that I'm going to add some stuff to so that we can have like one, it's on a Google thing. So if you want me to just send you the link so you can like put in slides about budgeting, because that's your thing, not mine, we can do that. But yes, I was going to invite you to that meeting as well, and I will send the email to you. And if anyone on SGA wants to come to that meeting as well, just like let me know so I can put you on the doodle poll list.
Right on. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right.
Elliot.
Yeah, sorry, I can't see the entire screen. Go ahead, Elliot.
You're good. So Tatum, if you would like to, I would think since it's a president's or whatever meeting, I don't know what you're planning on calling it. I would expect, or maybe I would hope that all the presidents, even of class presidents, would be there as well. Considering they are presidents, I still consider them part of the president. So, and then in addition to that, I would also love to come.
Very good. Sorry about that. So are there any other questions from you guys? Tatum? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just send out the doodle poll to all of the class presidents anyways. And if any senators want to be involved, just let me know so I can, you know what? I'll just put the link in the SGA group chat. That'll clear up the whole thing. That's good. Sorry.
That's fair. And then like it's shareable as David mentioned. So I mean, we could hand it out to individuals that are maybe not quite yet registered for an organizations, but they're potentially wanting to register, making new organizations, and maybe that could be their getting their feet wet and kind of figuring out what to do. But yeah, very good. Thank you. So move on to sophomore class president, Chase Henry.
All right. So this last week we have been talking quite a bit. I sent a couple polls out for times for my committee to meet. I'm more than likely by the end of the week, I'll send out like 2 times and see which time works best for everyone. And then once we start meeting, we'll start brainstorming ideas to represent SGA, and probably after a couple weeks or however long it takes to plan, I will shoot someone on CAB a message. And the apparel, if you guys want, if any of you have like certain recommendations or stuff, you can send me apparel ideas for SGA. I saw a lot of cool ideas last year when I went to a leadership conference in Denver. Like a lot of these other big schools have some really, really cool apparel. So I'm excited to get going on that and excited to meet my committee. Welcome everyone again, all the new peeps. End report.
Very good. So there's a question in the chat. Scotty is wondering to you, Chase, can we please figure out the tampon situation?
Yes, that's in my notes for the first meeting. We just have to figure out a time that works every week for that. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments with regards to Chase's report? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to first year class president, Will Keck. Will?
Okay, so an update on kind of last week when we talked about the recycling issues on Kresge. We reached out to Sustainability Club on some information. I know Scott has all the information and has really been championing this. So if you want to say anything during questions, go ahead, Scott. But we've also been talking to Luke Bohanek and getting him involved on how we can combat that issue. And then, so a few weeks ago, when we were sent the email about the OrgFest, they said that like not all organizations would be allowed or could attend the OrgFest. So they were going to send another email out later that week about all the clubs offered on campus and how to get involved. And that never happened. So I'm working with Tatum and hopefully you, Elliot, to try and get that email sent out in the next week or so new students especially can get involved, because I know those are starting to start up and people are starting to have meetings. So hoping to get that involved. And then, I'm also like looking at ways to display all the clubs and activities on like our website or just in general, because especially as like a prospective student, I was looking for what clubs and organizations were here and I could not find any. And even when I emailed somebody to see what clubs were offered here, they didn't give me and answers. So I think that's super important to get that out there and get it all in one place.
Very good.
Questions?
So I've got hands up from Scott and then Elliot. So Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, Will and I have been, and Skylar actually helped reach out to the Sustainability Club, the first year crew, as it were. But I just emailed out to Luke. I was just included on an email chain about the recycling situation, specifically around Kresge. Apparently there's some outgrowth by Pfeiffer that you could dump recycling in, but often the recycling bins are behind 2 or 3 rows of garbage bins. So it's incredibly difficult to do so, meaning that the most obvious recycling place to dump is the ones out by frickin' Barker. I have to walk across campus to do that. That's nonsense. Every single block that they put in front of us recycling means more and more people don't recycle. But we're working on that to improve information so people know where they can recycle by Kresge. Luke mentioned something about not being able to do recycling inside of the dorms, but we might be able to work that out so we actually have recycling bins besides just the one in the rooms. But that's probably the more difficult end. But right now it looks like we're figuring out the information end.
Very good. Thank you. Elliot, go ahead.
I kind of have 2 for that. So what Scott just said, and then going back to what Will said. So Scott, in first, there used to be on 2nd floor of Kresge a closet where everybody dumped their recycling. I believe that used to be, not anymore. But there used to be my freshman year, or first year, excuse me. I don't remember exactly why they got rid of it. I think it was because it was extremely hard for the cleaning ladies to, most of those cleaning ladies are rather old, or at least have a hard time lifting all of the trash that would pile up in there. Honestly, I would also have hard time lifting all the trash that was piled up in there because it would typically be all the way to the ceiling with recycling stuff. So that's why they undid that or got away with that. I'm not sure where they would put it now, but that's kind of just the prior knowledge on that that you might need as you go through the recycling process. So good luck with that. And also we have a sustainability committee that was created last year to mostly do solar panel stuff, but this would also, I feel like, fall under their realm. We could reorganize and reactivate maybe that committee. I would be kind of interested in getting them reactivated anyways in regards to solar panels, but that could be a different discussion. So we can talk about that maybe personally between the 3 of you if you're interested, and we could move forward with that. I had something for Will, but now that we got to Will's part, I am forgetting what I had. So maybe I'll think about it, but yes.
Thank you. Chase, go ahead.
Will and Scott, I'm also on the sustainability committee. I didn't know if you guys knew that. But a question you could ask Luke directly, just straight up ask if Simpson recycles, because there's a lot of like controversy. They never give a straight answer, but I'm pretty sure Simpson doesn't recycle up to this point. So just ask him directly and see his answer. Thanks.
Very good. Casey, go ahead.
So my freshman year, there was definitely recycling in the freshman buildings on every floor. And the only reason it piled up is because they emptied it out once a week, maybe. So like if they emptied it out more than once a week, it wouldn't be overflowing because there's a lot of people that use them. Yeah, Skylar, every floor. There's a closet in Kresge, like on the first floor across from the like general, I don't know what you call the room where there's like the TV lounge, I suppose. And that's where the recycling was. Oh, yeah, I've also heard they don't actually recycle. So that's a good question from Chase. I've been told by like faculty that they just put it in the trash. So
very good. So it would be good to clear this up. Corey, go ahead.
So to piggyback on what Chase and Casey said about the not recycling. So I know behind my apartment here in Clinton, we have like a big bin like outside where we can put our recycling. But I've heard from multiple sources that the trash people pick up the dumpster and dump it in their truck and then pick up the recycling and dump it in their trash truck. Therefore, not recycle, which is, it's like a false sense of, oh yeah, I put it in the recycling bin, I'm doing the right thing. And then we're not.
Hadley, go ahead.
I just want to point out right now I'm living in Kresge on the first floor, and there's a lot of like empty either like dorm rooms or just like small closets around me that I've seen that have like nothing in them. So if they're like, we don't have a place to put them, I can vouch that there's at least 3 rooms around me that we could put recycling into.
Very good. Scott, go ahead.
I would be interested in reactivating the sustainability committee. That sounds like a good option. And to echo what Hadley said, there's a small area by the vending machines in Kresge that you could just slip a recycling bin in, easy peasy. But yeah, I will definitely be asking Luke if Simpson actually recycles. That sounds like some absolute nonsense if we don't.
Very good. David, go ahead.
This might be a question that's more for the sustainability committee, or when it's created or reignited, I should say, to tackle. But who necessarily would we go to? Is that, I know it's an administration thing, but I don't know what realm within the administration the sustainability committee would approach to question that directly.
I think Elliot has a direct answer, so go ahead, Elliot.
Most of that's concerned with residence life. Considering they're in the residence buildings, it's residence life, which means it would go to Luke Bohonic primarily. There might be other faculty or staff members like facilities that are involved with that, but all of those people report to Luke. So if Luke can't answer it himself, or he could answer it himself, I'm sure, but if he needs to refer you to anyone, it probably will be facilities. So.
Very good, guys. Any other questions or comments with regards to Will's report? Yes, Rich, as I said, suggest reaching out to physical plant, Randy Rice, or the vice president of business and finance. So that's good. I think if students are listening and you're very passionate about it as well, maybe you guys could also reach out as well, and collectively, it's better, I think. So, yeah. And then any more questions? David, go ahead. I don't know if your hand's still up.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add to that oftentimes we are very gung-ho about creating what's it called, a resolution, and those are good. Those have lots of impact. I think for anything that we move forward on in the future, sort of approaching whoever is at the head of the issue that we're trying to solve, or the body that we're trying to address, getting some sort of one-on-one or at least email meeting with them is going to make whatever resolutions that we decide to put forward like that much more effective. So definitely visit those people that Rich mentioned in the chat.
Very good. Thank you. Well, a lot of these points, I'm guessing Elliot and I will bring up tomorrow as well, as we're talking to other people, higher administration, see if they have any insight on who we could reach out better. I mean, because obviously they're at the top, but they don't run everything. So yes, any other questions or comments with regards to Will's report? Nice. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5, old business. There's no old business, so move on to item number 6, new business. Let's see. So, faculty committee nominations. Elliot, go ahead.
Okay, so this is our last kind of faculty committee. It's technically not a faculty committee. It's more of a staff committee, but faculty are involved in it, but also staff are involved in it, and students are involved in it. So all 3 branches of the community. So I'll just read off what the faculty committee does, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about what the interesting case with this one is versus all of the other committees we've nominated already. So the ACCDEI, which is a very long acronym, the functions, the ACCDI shall promote diversity, equity, inclusion issues as identified in the college's mission, vision, and values, mission, vision, and core value statement. The committee takes a collaborative approach which balances faculty, administration, staff, students, and community participation in planning and the decision-making process to advise the administration, faculty, staff, students, and community on campus diversity, equity, and inclusion matters, which, as noted in the Simpson Statement on Diversity and Inclusion, is a source of strength, creativity, innovation for us. The ACCDEI values the contributions of each person and respects the profound ways their identity, culture, background, and experience, status, abilities, and opinions enrich our community. The goals of ACCDEI are an inextricably, I don't even know that word, inextricably, I'm reading right out of the Constitution of the faculty right now. Linked and committed to the pursuit of excellence in teaching, research, community, and outreach. The committee works collaboratively with and advises the faculty, administration, and students to provide direction and accountability for the implementation of the college's diversity plans. The committee provides faculty, staff, and student participation in both short and long-range planning and serves as a gateway for information to and from the faculty, students, and administration's shared governance communities. The committee reviews whether campus committees and organizations are pursuing anti-discrimination goals. The committee meets with campus leadership to discuss policies, procedures, and progress on diversity, equity, inclusion issues, and the committee works with the Office of the President and VP for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to provide an annual update to the campus community, and the committee provides update to reports to all shared governance groups of the students, staff, and faculty. Okay, so that's basically what the committee is tasked to do. For those that are returning from last year, they might remember the President's Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This is the replacement for that committee. They did away with that committee because, one, I think it was somewhat ineffective, redundant. It was created in the previous administration and then tried to apply on this one. Didn't really make sense. There's also another committee called Katie, which also has a similar task, but is a specifically faculty committee. That we already appointed members for. So now we are going to be appointing members to this committee as well. They're requesting 3 committee members, but they're requesting them specifically out of multicultural organizations. Those include BSU, ISO, MSA, LU. I'm forgetting every time.
ISO.
I already said ISO.
NASA?
There we go. Is it NASA? Yes.
I think so.
It's the Native American Student Alliance, I believe. So they're requesting members from all of those different groups. They have a meeting on Monday. They were not involved in our initial round of faculty meeting appointees, and they were really requesting individual members for their Monday meeting. We only received nominations from BSU, and we're still waiting. We received also a nomination for MSA, but we have not received a nomination from ISO or NASA yet. So I don't know if we want to wait and potentially vote on these members in another I don't really want to wait for another meeting, honestly. I would like to try to vote on it before their Monday meeting, which means we would have to do it via GroupMe. So we can maybe have a small discussion before. Personally, that's my feeling, is we should wait. If we would like to move forward, I technically have 3 nominees. The president of ISO, whose name is Franco Carmelinio, I believe, he is trying to get back to me on those individual members and said if we gave him like 1 more day, he might be able to get his members. We could technically appoint, and I think the candidates for these positions right now are excellent. 2 of them are in this meeting right now, but yes. So if anybody has anything to add, please do.
So 2 things. If we do nominate, just wait a second, that way we can tell Rich to pause it. And then Tatum has her hand up, so Tatum, go ahead.
So I was just looking at the list of organizations really quick just to see, and they're like the Native American Indigenous Student Alliance is not a registered organization right now, and I don't have a list of anyone in the organization. So if anyone knows who runs the organization, please let me know, because technically they're not an organization unless they're registered. So it's just a group of people right now, because we can't call them an organization because they're not registered. So I just want to make that clear. So like as of right now, SGA has no obligation, because they're not a registered organization, and to pick people, they need to be a part of an organization. I just want to let people know that here.
Very good. Thank you. Maggie, go ahead.
So this is a weird question. I know that they stated they want that, like, this is for diversity, equity, inclusion,
And in what you read, they mentioned a lot of different types of diversity, but they're asking for students only from multicultural associations. So I just want to make sure that they're not trying to avoid their other issues with diversity by focusing on one. Like, it's good, but I want to make sure they're not pretending they're not having issues in other areas by trying to fix one area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think Elliot has a direct response to that. So I'll let you go ahead, Elliot.
If anybody else, give me 1 second, Maggie. I can follow up with that. They're not the only ones. I left out 2 organizations. Pride is the other one, and I'm looking up the other one that they wanted specifically to be included. I believe the president of Pride right now is the same one as president of MSA. So that one was crossed off, 2 birds, 1 stone type thing. But the other one is not, and I can tell you exactly what organization that is.
Very good. In the meantime, Askasi, go ahead.
Okay. One is, yes, Tatum, they are not registered, but last year's president, Elliot should have her name. If not, I can look it up. But she was also a freshman, so she might not have known that she needed to re-register. Like, it was her and like 4 other people that were in that organization last year. So she might have just not known that she needed to re-register. So I would say before we make a decision on that, we reach out to them. Yes. I would say that we reach out to them and like be like, hey, are you going to register? That also might be a thing. She might not be here this year, but I would like give them an opportunity to like be an organization before we just completely discount them altogether. And then the second thing is, Elliot, did you say that there were people from MSA that were nominated?
Yeah, 1. I reached out to the president, and the president, I'm fairly certain, just nominated herself.
Caricia. Also, though, MSA technically is a combination of all of the other diversity groups on campus. So it kind of seems weird to have someone from MSA when everyone in MSA is just a part of all of the other ones. Like, for those of you who don't know, like, MSA is just the umbrella like organization for all of the other like multicultural organizations and like Pride and like all of that. So like I don't really see why we would need someone from them if we're getting people from every like what's underneath them, if that makes sense.
David, I'm not skipping you. I'm just letting Elliot answer the question. So Elliot, go ahead.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so the organizations that are listed are Black Student Union, International Student Organization, ISO, Latinos Unidos, LU, Multicultural Student Alliance, Native American Intertribal Students Association. So there's a T in there. That's what we're missing. And then Simpson Pride. So those are the 3. Those are the 4 or 5 organizations that are included. In that, I didn't get to decide what organizations are part of this. This is exactly the email that the Patty Woodward Young, who is the, I believe, chair of this committee, she sent to me as a request for individuals. Also, Walter Lane has reached out to me several times about this as well. I think he's reached out to me twice about it. So he's also heavily involved, but Patty Woodward Young included with me the information regarding the committee that I'm looking at on the email right now.
Very good. Thank you. So David and then Casey, go ahead. So David.
All right, that actually cleared up part of my question, but I definitely think we shouldn't count them out. And it'd be really great to reach out to them so we can get them together and organized and registered as quick as possible. So I guess it'll be up to Tatum if she or someone else in her committee wants to make that first contact so they can get together. So my question really is, what does the timeline look on getting all these people nominated? Because we want them represented in, I forgot the acronym or the name of.
By Monday, but I'll let Elliot elaborate. Elliot.
Okay, so the approach that I kind of took to the nomination process, and which is why it makes it unique to all the other faculty committees that we nominated already, is because the nomination for our typical faculty committee is we suggest nominations, I email them, I get back to you in a week, we all vote on that nomination, and they become part of the committee. In this case, I didn't really feel as though it would make sense for us to choose someone out of those committees. Why not just let the organizations themselves nominate someone and then we just approve it? making that process a lot shorter, 2 weeks shorter to be exact. So that's my approach to this, and I think that makes sense. Why would we choose individuals from that organization when they can just choose them themselves? Especially because that's exactly what the committee is already asking for anyways. So that's why I did that.
Very good.
Okay. I was sorry, just to follow up on that. I was just wondering, it's going to take some time to get them registered, I'm guessing. So are we just going to go ahead and create, ratify the nominations, or are we going to wait for them? Sorry, I'm not sure if that makes sense.
It does.
Like when does it need to go into effect, and how far will we be pushing that back?
So basically what our options are is to approve the nominations that I have right now. I have 3 nominations, but they're only from BSU and MSA/Pride. I'm sure those individuals that are also from BSU are representing other organizations, but I just received them as a result of my reaching out to the president of BSU. If we delay that vote and wait for those organizations, unrealistically, while I think it is sad that we don't get the voice from the Native American group, since they're not a technical organization, they want the committee members by Monday because they want to move forward with their committee. I mean, it is halfway through September already, and we only have 2 more months left on campus before we leave. They would like those as soon as possible, realistically. And if they're not an organization currently, they would have to be approved as an organization within the next 24 hours for them to be considered, I think, into this vote. And that would also mean they'd have to get members on top of that. I realistically don't think it's possible unless they already have something drafted currently, and I don't think they do. So
very good.
Monday, I think, was the question. Your initial question was when would we have this by? Monday, but that is the latest. I would like to have it in a group me vote, if we don't vote it tonight, by tomorrow or Friday at the latest. And that would also require, if you're also not familiar, I can update you. Group me, so we sometimes occasionally vote in group me when we can't vote in person and we can't do an emergency meeting. Just for one vote, we don't call an emergency meeting to vote on. So basically what we would do is we would just put a poll in the group me chat, and you would vote yes or no to the nominations. This is a little bit different than the usual way we do it, but this is the only option we really have. So yeah.
Very good. Casey, go ahead.
So I kind of brought this up in the chat, but for a organization or a committee, I guess, that has such a wide-reaching name for diversity and inclusion, I feel like students with disabilities, both learning disabilities or physical disabilities, do not get the support that they deserve on campus, and there's a lot of issues with that. And so I feel like it's hard because it's not an organization, but I feel like some representation for that needs to be had on this committee. And I know we're not supposed to do nominations, so I won't say the name, but I know of someone who would be perfect for this if we want to do a nomination, and reach out to them tonight and fast track this, because I think that needs to be represented on this committee as well.
Very good. Elliot has a response, I reckon. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping out of order. I know everybody else has questions. I'm just responding to every one of these. I don't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a current organization on campus for, is there? I'm not sure. What is there for disabilities, if there is anything? The reason they didn't include that then is because they were specifically looking at organizations on campus and trying to get representatives of those organizations into this. There's no easily accessible list, obviously, of people with disabilities on campus unless you go to one of the people in the library that specifically focuses on that. I don't think that would be a ethically the right way to go about doing it. I think this was the most easily accessible group that they could find. So I'm also speaking on speculation. I did not create this committee, and I don't know how they came up with the group names that are currently listed on their constitution. So
Casey, I'm guessing you have a response to that response, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I know that there's not a direct organization, but I don't know Patty super well, but she seems like a super awesome person. And I feel like if we sent a name and said, this is why we think this person should also be included, we've at least opened the door to be we thought about this and here's a nominee. And she has the discretion to be we don't have a seat for this person, but at least we as SGA advocated for these issues for that group of students and provided an actual tangible person. And the person I'm thinking of, we don't obviously have to approve the one I'm thinking of, but would respond tonight. We could nominate and approve this person tonight and not have to make this take longer. I don't think so either, based on what I know from her.
That's fair. Maggie, go ahead.
Okay, so my question is kind of, we've talked about how like we don't have obviously organizations for every person who may face discrimination on this campus for various reasons. So my question is, if someone who's a minority that's not represented on this all campus committee runs into an issue, will they be allowed to go into a meeting? Like, will those meetings at least sometimes be public? Because if it's not, I have an issue with that.
Elliot, go ahead.
I don't know. I hope so. I would think so. If I was in charge of it, it sure would be public because I hate private meetings, really. But yeah, so I can reach out. I can ask her. That's all I know. I don't know much. Pretty much all I know is what's included in the email that says, please submit some people for this. So.
Right on. Tatum, go ahead.
So I just looked through last year's registered organizations just to double check. I'm still not seeing the, I don't know how to pronounce the acronym, but we all know what I'm talking about. I am just going to email Caroline tonight and see if she knows anyone. Because Elliot, I looked after I talked to you and Kent and I couldn't find anyone. That's why I didn't email you or anything. But I can email Caroline tonight and see if she has anything. But again, like, organizations need a president. That's literally the one rule about organizations is they need to have a president. So I will reach out to her after meeting.
And a constitution, just the constitution and bylaws. So just, you can copy and paste literally ours and just erase like 20 sections and that's few words. Yeah. Elliot.
To transfer if they handle money.
Yeah, they definitely existed because I remember being part of the meeting. But yeah, apparently they just didn't reorganize or resubmit, which is totally possible. I mean, nobody's really forced to. They should probably still have money in their account though, because that rolls over for 5 years, I believe. Rich can correct me on that. If they ever submitted for a budget request of any kind.
Nice. All right, Pascasi, go ahead.
I genuinely have zero idea what I was gonna say. Oh, no, it was to Maggie. I know that PKD, which is the old version of this committee, all of their meetings have always been open. So is KD. Like, they don't necessarily like put it out there like, hey, KD meets this day and this time. But like, if you know anyone on the committee, those meetings are always open. And I'm assuming that they're going to do the same thing with this one, since they're basically literally, they're just changing the name of the committee and making it slightly more formal, but it's basically the same thing.
Very good. Thank you. Can Rich, I know you're working on something, but do we have like a straw poll to see I don't know if I need a motion to do like Casey's proposal and reaching out, or Elliot, go ahead, better yet.
I brought up the thing, but we never had a motion to actually vote. So I can just rescind. I've kind of made up my decision on what I'd like to do with this committee, even though we haven't voted on anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, I guess, and someone could respond to me right now. But I'd like to hold off and follow up with several organizations and then get the full list before we actually vote on anybody. I'd like to have a full roster of at least different groups before we submit a finalized 3 members to this committee.
Is that fair for you guys as well? Give me some nods, yeah. So being that, I would like you guys to be active on GroupMe. I'm very guilty of not being active on GroupMe a lot. So just that when we do get votes, we do get the adequate stuff rolling because like mentioned, it's trying to be for Monday if possible. So yes, any questions or comments with regards to that? Casey, go ahead.
Can we still decide if we're going to do like a seat for someone to at least advocate for disability issues? Because then we could do that as like part of the nomination process for everything else.
I don't believe we get that decision. At the end of the day, it's not our committee. We can suggest it highly, and I doubt they're going to say no once we say we would like this on the committee. As students, we would like that representation on there. But we don't get to, that's not our final decision to make, is that nomination. So,
Casey, I guess you have a response.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know it's not our final decision, but we should still like vote on the person we want to suggest, shouldn't we?
No.
Oh,
Considering
okay.
we're not voting on the rest of them, we're probably not going to vote on that member as well.
Okay.
Corey, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So in reference to like the being active on GroupMe, Elliot, do you have the GroupMe chat like set to like desk mode or something? Maybe I just need to turn on my notifications, but does it like not notify us when we get messages? I feel like I have to be in the chat to be getting notifications.
What is desk mode?
I don't know. I feel like when you added me to it, you had said it had been like Elliot has set this chat so you won't like receive notifications if your phone is locked or something.
I usually receive my notification. I see what everybody's typing in, but I don't know what kind of phone you have. If you have an iPhone 11, it just comes up as GroupMe notification, and then you actually have to like put your face on it to show what the what the words are. But
okay, I'll just go to my notifications like in my settings and figure it out. I just thought that it was the GroupMe and not my phone. Thank you.
Should be in it should be in your settings. I'm not obviously an Apple expert, but I'm fairly certain that's where.
Laskasi, go ahead.
So I somewhat agree with Casey that I think if we like not nominating someone, but I do think that we as a group should make a statement to this committee saying like, hey, we would highly suggest that you put someone who has a disability on this committee as well. Because like I think just being like, oh, we don't have any power over that is a lame excuse for not doing anything.
I understand, and that's not what I'm trying to say, Paskazi. What I'm trying to say is that a vote's not necessary. What I can literally do is say, SGA discussed, and we would highly recommend you add a member. It doesn't require a vote. We don't all need to vote and say, we voted 100% unanimous to say, we definitely want one of these on here. I can just tell them, we would highly recommend having a member. And I can even tell them to refer to this meeting and say that this is what the group of them would like to see is a member who is of a disability like this be part of this committee too. I don't think a vote is necessary. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that not saying anything is inactivity type thing.
Yeah. So like the person that we select, we don't even have to vote because since they're not under the qualifications that they requested of us, they need to. So yeah, I don't know if that makes it any clearer, but yeah. David, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest, and I'm not sure what form this message from SGA to this committee is going to take, if it's an email or if it's some actually written out pretty bordered statement, but included in that correspondence should be some plans in the future to possibly put together a organization that's focused on students with disabilities on campus, like I think Maggie and Casey suggested inside the chat, yeah, we're gonna actually make one. So somewhere in there, put that. I think that'd be good just to let them know that in the future there will be an organization to draw people from, because we can nominate this. Say the committee accepts, okay, we need to have that kind of representation on here, and then they put a student on there. If that student's not part of an organization, are they going to rotate out, or are they going to elect new people, or where is the pool of people that they're drawing from? Because I don't think every student with a disability on campus is going to want to be a part of anything like that. I mean, not that they won't care, but they might not want to be in that position. So just some willingness to create an organization so that there is a body of people to draw from.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So it's been tabled, quote unquote, correct? Yeah. Very good. Well, like I said, GroupMe, please and thank you. So move on to item number 7, general discussion. So for the first part, we've got comment box submissions. Elliot, go ahead.
Okay, so like I said in the last meeting, so we have an SGA comment box. Everybody's allowed to submit an unanimous, or if they would like to include their name, they can. Typically people do submit unanimous, and those unanimous comments do range. super nice. Did someone just say something?
Yeah, you said unanimous.
I'm sorry, an anonymous. I maybe have a slang. I'm sorry. I'm Northeast Iowa, disgusting. But sometimes they do range from being nice to being terrible. Yeah, unanimous. Thank you. My bad. Thank you for everybody roasting me. I'm sorry. Long night. I can't speak apparently. Some of these comments range from being really nice to being really mean. So I will keep that in your discretion, I guess. That this could be very bad. I guess there could be a trigger warning as well. So keep that in mind. And if you need to leave the meeting for whatever reason, you're welcome to do so. I just want to let everybody know that you're not forced to be in this meeting and listen to mean comments because they are mean sometimes. So keep that in mind. Try not to take them to heart. Most of them, I keep a pretty thick skin when they comment. And my mind, honestly, every time I hear them, I think if they really wanted to say something, they would have put their name attached to it at the end of the day. And they did not. So these are anonymous. So just keep those in mind, okay? So I'm just gonna be reading them off. This is our tradition. And we can talk about them. I'm going to try to address every single one to a certain degree. Some of them I don't think really need to be addressed because they're incorrect but I will be trying to talk about most of them, okay? So beginning, the first comment, why don't you address actual student problems like the administration dead naming students? This is actually a huge issue and I totally understand. Honestly, before this entire issue, before we even received these comment boxes, and before when I saw on a lot of social media in regards to this comment, I didn't even know what dead naming was. So this has actually been a really good learning experience for me on what dead naming. I looked it up and I didn't even know what it was. So that's just kind of something that I wasn't aware of. If we can address in any way, I would love to. Maybe that's a task that SGA can take up, a resolution that we could write potentially in support of this, because I'd totally be on board. I think it's a huge issue that we could totally address. The college talked about it, but yes, and Tatum put something. If you'd like to talk, Tatum, you can.
I just want, I did bring up the issue of dead names 3 weeks before we were on campus. As soon as I found out about it via Twitter, I brought it up to the exec board literally not even 10 minutes after I had found out. Granted, I did reach out to the individual to make sure that they were okay with me doing that, because I was like, hey, we are still representing you and this is not okay in any capacity. So I do want to let people know, and to the people, if anyone's watching the live stream, I did bring it up to SGA as soon as I found out, and I was very livid in that group chat, and it was literally the first thing in the group chat, and I was like, yo, we have issues, let's fix this now. But we weren't on campus yet, and none of us were we didn't do the swearing in thing, so there was very limited things that we could do, but I do want to point it out that I did bring it up to the exec board.
So in response to this comment, so this was commented a while back. I don't have all the dates on the comments. If we would like to, which I'd totally be willing to do, is to draft a resolution one of our nights in support of this. I think that would be within our realm of what we could do in response to this specific issue. That is totally up to the Senate, what we would like to do going forward, but that's my kind of thoughts on the issue. Totally be in support of that, so just let me know, I guess. And we can have discussion right now. If anybody be in favor of that. We obviously wouldn't write that resolution tonight, but we can continue this discussion at a later SGA meeting. So we can even have a special SGA meeting if we would like to.
David and then Casey. So David, go ahead.
Yeah, it is a really big issue, and honestly, kind of like you, Elliot, I had no idea what dead naming was 2 weeks ago. That is a very new term to me. Definitely something very real. I think I'm just new to us having a term for it. But to Ellie's point with the resolution, I think that'd be good, but maybe angle it towards something about education. Just because I think this is something that would work best with a strong campus presence behind it. And it's not to say that we can't get that, but I don't think a lot of people understand what that means and why that's hurtful. Not to underestimate people too much, but I know just inside SGA itself, we are we look around, we hear things, we understand a lot what's going on, and we're kept up to date. I don't think a lot of people are on campus, just with, our experience with literacy in different areas. Some way, at least right when we release it, or before, or maybe a little after, where we could have something that describes what that is to people so they understand why it's a big deal, understand why they need to be supporting it. So they're not just blindly going along or just ignoring it. So they actually know, hey, we're putting pressure on these people.
Very good. I reckon Elliot has direct response. So go ahead, Elliot.
Reckon, that was nice. So what typically, most of you were involved in the resolution writing process 2 weeks ago, but that's actually not what our normal resolution writing takes place in. Typically what takes place is if we feel as though we should write a resolution, we, I think, vote, and Rich can correct me if I'm wrong, but we vote to draft a resolution. We appoint members to a resolution drafting committee. They draft a resolution. It comes back at our next SGA meeting, and then we move forward from there. And I would totally be willing to start up a committee to attack that issue if anybody's super passionate about that and thinks that they can write a really good resolution that we can try to vote next week.
That's fair. Casey, go ahead.
I guess first I have a quick question. Can people watching the live stream see the chat?
No, they cannot.
Okay, then I want to echo something that's in the chat for everybody watching. It's absolutely ridiculous that people can have their preferred nickname as their email, that like Maggie's email can say Maggie, but you can't actually use someone's proper name in their email when they ask for it. And I know some of the students who are being dead named like have used not their dead name their entire time at Simpson. There's no excuse. It's not like they came in with their dead name and like started using a different name here. Like the entire time they've been at Simpson, they did not use this name. So it's outrageous that that's on the email and people can have like Becca on an email. Like, I don't understand why we can't do both. There's no reason other than we're trying to be like hateful towards a certain group of people.
Very, very good. Thank you, because that is good for people to know, especially streaming. Maggie, go ahead.
Yeah, just to further that, so when I first came to Simpson, like all my legal documentation says Margaret. I don't go by Margaret. So immediately I said, hey, I go by Maggie. I told them that. That's what my email says. That is what every professor on campus calls me. Even if like it might say Margaret once, I tell them that I'm Maggie and they fixed it. So if they can all do that for me, then there is no excuse. And if they won't, and if there's anyone on here who is going to dead name students, you can call me Margaret, and then I'll know who you are.
Thank you. That's fair.
Seeing the response in the group, I'd love to create a committee. If you'd like to be on the committee to draft this resolution, please raise your hand, and I will be creating
in the chat. Please. In the chat, please. That way we can actually. It's way better. Thank you, guys.
It won't let me raise my hand.
Okay, that's fine. I got you. Just it's
this might be a question for Rich as well. Typically when we draft resolutions, would we have to vote to draft a resolution before we move to appoint members of the resolution drafting committee?
No, you do not. You will have to vote on the resolution. That's the only thing you're gonna have to vote on. But to make a committee to draft one, there doesn't have to be a vote.
Great. Well, I did that wrong last time we did the resolution then.
It's okay. Totally okay.
Okay.
I'm just writing the names down, guys. But any other questions? You can wave at me normally if you do have a question. So Maggie, go ahead.
I forgot to say something. Also, for all the people who have to call me Margaret because they're going to dead name people, I am not a cis woman. My pronouns are she, they. So I'm very adamant about this. If you can call me by my preferred name, you can call other people who are not cis like me by their preferred name. Okay, I'm done now.
Okay. We will be moving on. Jorge, you're writing all the names down, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to move on to the next SGA comment box.
Put your hands down though, guys. Just double checking. But yeah, continue.
Okay. Glad to see you guys are fighting the good fight. That was nice. Thank you very much. I believe that was in response to the resolution drafting. What can I do to help get faculty to respond to either resolutions written by SGA? Some of these are incorrect grammar. I'm probably still going to read them in incorrect grammar because the negative ones, it amuses me a little bit that they're incorrect grammar, and hopefully it'll bring you a little bit of joy as well. What can you do to help get faculty to respond to the resolution? I think we can all discuss on this if we'd like. Personally, keep people accountable. You know, if you see something happening, don't just let it slip by. That should be just a given. But a lot of our resolutions don't really seem that radical, honestly. It's common sense stuff. We don't write we don't stay up till 2:30 in the morning writing a resolution that's just you can just ignore. Okay. We truly are passionate about it to the point that we are giving up sleep while we are in college to draft something to better, I don't know, this community that we all, I feel like, have invested a little bit of time in, you know? So just keep people accountable, you know? It's just, that's my thing on that. We can all add parts, but that's that, so.
Tatum, go ahead. Sorry, guys, I'm just sharing the screen because as per request.
And I think students also should know, like, it's not, you can walk yourself up to Marsha Keller's office. You can walk your little hiney over to McNeil and talk to administration. You can email administration. You can reach out to your friends at different colleges to email the administration. I have friends who are at like in Boston and Seattle who emailed our administration that were like, hey, this is unacceptable. You guys need to do better. So it's like, you know, you can walk. I mean, I went to Marsha's office at 9 a.m. unannounced, and she made time for us. So just want to point that out. It's not unprofessional just to walk yourself up there and demand that students are receiving basic human rights, because it's not political anymore. Students are asking to be respected. It's not that hard.
Very good. I'm just trying to see who's next. I lost my little participant tab. Who's ever next, go ahead.
I see no one. Nobody's got their hands up. So
you can move forward. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I switched it to my screen, so then I can control the scrolling.
That's better. Yeah.
I don't know how you can zoom in because this seems really. Can anybody see this? It seems really small.
I can see it fine.
Can you see it fine?
Blind. I'm blind. I'm sorry. Wait, I have glasses. Let me put them on.
Okay, I'm going to be reading them all too. This is just for reference of all you guys too. And if you'd like to keep scrolling, I guess you can look through these. These will always be on our agenda. We also include them in a minute. Okay. So the next comment, comment 4, I believe the midnight resolution, which would be a sick name for it, is the best yet, and we'll keep pushing the administration and parties involved to act on it. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I also thought that was a cool name. So I would maybe suggest that we refer to it as the Midnight Resolution from now on. I think that's cool. Moving on, I'm going to look also at the participants tab. So if you have anything, I'll try to keep up. Hello, regarding the latest incident with the Simpsonian and the post that made, I just want to know why SGA was calling the incident vandalism. The incident was a prime example of the criminal misdemeanor vandalism. So why would it not be called vandalism? Therefore, if SGA goes by this logic, I wouldn't be allowed to spray paint BLM on every building on Simpson campus without zero. I would be allowed, this logic, I be allowed to spray paint BLM on every building here at Simpson with zero repercussions? Thanks. So in regards to this comment, and we can talk in depth with this, while I was part of the resolution committee, one of the main things that I heard was the question of what vandalism means in the connotations that they put it in, and also what it spawned as a result in the subtweets of that specific tweet. The problem that we had initially, and this is kind of, I guess, for first year knowledge, because every one of these people were all part of the resolution drafting committee, was that this entire process, the Simpsonian went about posting the actual news article very odd. It was not a traditional Simpsonian post. It didn't relate anywhere to anything to Simpson. And also the use of the word vandalism has a lot of negative connotations that spawned a lot of negative comments in the subtweet that I don't think, I hope they were not intending, and which is why we're asking them to take it down. I think that was the main problem with that, was that the oddity of the tweet in general, but also in combination with the negative language that spawned even more hateful comments in the tweets. So we can talk as a group on this if you'd like. I see the first one being David. So I'm gonna, take over the privilege of you, Jorge, and I'll just call on David if that's all right.
That's perfect.
Okay. Sorry, this is the questions I've been waiting for. What this person is not recognizing, or in the situation, is the difference between connotative and denotative. Denotatively, vandalism is just referring to the act as it is not existent within, our realm of social implications. Connotatively, what the word implies to the symbology that it's referring to in the act itself is extremely negative because it links a group of people to an act that has been characterized as destructive in an environment. And therefore, the people who are on campus who are actively supporting everything that is associated with that symbology now are on high alert for some sort of repercussions, either physically or mentally. Honestly, you could even call what happened on that Zoom call meeting a psychological retribution from the people on campus. So um, hopefully that clears some stuff up, just clarifying the English language here. And it's not that his logic is totally incorrect. He just doesn't, or I'm so sorry, they are not sure where the rest of the energy is coming from. So that's just the other side of it beyond just the word vandalism.
Sorry, Piscazi.
Just to kind of say what David said, but in normal people words, less intelligent layman terms. I think the bigger picture here is like the Black Lives Matter protesters have gotten a lot of retribution from police officers in their own cities, from right-wing extremists who disagree with the protest, that us or BLM spray painting and breaking stuff isn't actually real. There are multiple studies that show that it is right-wing extremists who are doing those things and then blaming it on the Black Lives Matter movement as a whole. So to post that and call it vandalism, you indirectly link that Black Lives Matter is out here damaging property, which is just not a consensus that is equivalent nationwide. And it's very damaging to do that on this campus because the culture that is around Indianola, if you are not aware, Indianola is a very racist town, very racist. So to put a target on every single person's minority, person of color, Black people specifically, and Black Lives Matter supporters is very dangerous to do. The amount of people who have told me that since everything that happened last week, the amount of racist comments they've gotten from townies is ridiculous. And this is all sparked because the Simpsonian decided to not they decided to not think ahead before they posted something that was damaging to a whole group of people.
Casey.
Kind of expanding on what everyone said, the other big problem with the tweet is that it was a tweet with some pictures in which they implied that the Black Lives Matter movement condoned vandalism. And then there was no article, there was no explanation, nothing. And they really completely opened the door for people with very racist feelings to feel justified responding to that post in very racist ways. And because there was no article to explain any context or anything, there was just nothing. It was just some pictures and saying the Black Lives Matter movement was condoning vandalism is basically the intent of the tweet from what it seemed like as a reader. And so by posting that with no explanation or article or anything, just super problematic, opened the door for a bunch of way worse things to happen. And I think that's a lot of where the problem came from too.
we'll do Scott and Tatum, and in the interest of time, we're going to move on because the next several comments also deal with this. We probably won't allow much discussion unless it's a specific thing in regards to the proposal or the resolution we made. So Scott next.
Point of order, I think we skipped something on the agenda. Specifically the last section of the Constitution that we didn't vote on regarding the power of the Vice President to vote on the Executive Committee.
I don't think it's in this this agenda, but basically
the agenda that was sent out to all of us.
It was in the agenda. We didn't ever get the Constitution Revision Committee together, and that would be what would require us before we go into the vote for that. Could potentially be next week.
Why was it on the agenda?
It's not on the agenda.
No, it was on the agenda that got sent out to us, though.
What agenda?
But the Constitution makes
That's
you
a preliminary agenda. Honestly, we get to change the agenda before it's just kind of an idea that we send out before, so we know at least what is potentially going to be talked about. That was tabled till next week.
Casey, go ahead.
We could come back to this later, but the Constitution Rewriting Committee right now has 2 people, so we should probably, because Rhett graduated, we should probably add at least 1 person, but we can do that later, but I just thought of it.
Opportunities to group me are endless.
Tatum.
I mean this in the nicest way possible. From what I can see from the screen share, I think that we have already answered half of these comments. I mean this in the nicest way possible. I think that we have answered all of these in some point or another. I think just reading through them would be enough because I think if people listen to this, they should get the point by now. I mean that with love and niceness, but at the same time, like, I don't think that we need, because we do this a lot. We like to talk about everything. We reiterate 300 things, 12 different ways. I love that we all talk, but, you know, to a certain extent, I don't think that we need to address all of the people in this comment. Elliot, mute yourself.
Sorry about it. Moving on. Can everybody hear me still?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and I also agree. All of this stuff has already been said multiple times. So, moving on. Vandalism. Okay, so I think we're on 4, 5. Vandalism, actions involving deliberate destruction or damage to public or private property rings pretty accurate. The posting insinuated nothing other than signs that in buildings were vandalized. In areas with feet or in area within feet of campus, it didn't call out anyone. It didn't point fingers. People are making assumptions, and typically those who have the loudest voice have the most to hide. Feel free to make up your own narrative. Don't condemn the actions that took place to deface an elementary school. Just complaining and play victim. I think we already addressed it. If anybody would like to, go ahead and raise your hand, but I think we've already addressed this. So moving forward, I don't appreciate your stance on the topic and find your general attitude to come off as condescending and over entitled. It is not up to you to dictate what language is used. The Simpsonian had every right to post that, and for you to suggest any journalistic malpractice and insecurity and ignorance of the word vandalism was correct and in no way applied incorrectly for you guys to support vandalism and talk down your peers who do the college a service is just despicable. We've already addressed it. Moving forward, how is SGA going to condemn Simpson College and the Simpsonian when the SGA has been just as complicit in making no efforts for the BLM movement? SGA was silent throughout the summer and made no effort for the students of color on its campus. Not only that, SGA has continuously avoided bias trainings that was claimed to be had after racial incidents with Professor Bolin and Megan Frank. I'm confused on what another resolution is going to do when the past 3 haven't done much. When are all Black lives actually going to matter to you and just doesn't fit your white savior agenda? There is something specific that I would like to address in that one, and that begins with SGA was silent throughout the summer and made no effort for students of color on its campus. I worked together with numerous student organizations this summer to draft a statement that went out to all students, staff, and faculty. I don't know where this individual was that didn't notice that, and obviously did pretty much no research to come up with this comment. Moving forward, SGA, in terms of the bias training, I will say that we have not done the bias training yet. We plan on doing it. I've had meetings with Rich about this 2 different times. Cassie's brought it up in the last 3 meetings, and I know, and I really would like to do that. And I think that it is incredibly important that bias training would be had. We're also planning on doing it with Tatum's initiative to do it with all the student organizations on campus. So we'll plan on doing that, but that I can address that and we can talk about that and discuss it more. And then moving forward, what another resolution is going to do. At the end of the day, SGA really only has the ability to do these things. Honestly, we don't have the power to make incredible decisions on this campus. All we can do is complain and write resolutions, basically. And believe me, I will complain till the day, or until Simpson, I guess, is either destroyed or gets better. Because I'm not just going to stay silent. I don't want to stay silent. I see that part, and it kind of just makes me sad that they would think that we would just stay silent during this. I want to speak on behalf of students, and this is the way we have to go about doing it. So that's that. Piscazi, you want to talk?
So in reference to us doing bias training, me and Rich have been in contact with Urban Dreams, and we actually have some preliminary dates set in October for when SGA can do it. So like I, for one, have been very vocal about it, and it's happening. Like, it's not like we're just going to continue to say like we're going to do it. Like it's genuinely happening within the next month. So just to let everyone know.
Yeah, and then I need to talk to you because you're in contact with Urban Dreams right now, because there's this program as well that a faculty member talked about me for moving forward when they hire people. There's like this program that potentially may allow to strip people of like the information. That way there's no gender bias or background bias when coming to application. So I'll be in contact with yourself and whoever else is with that, because the faculty reached out to me and I thought that was a brilliant idea, but I don't know how that works. So I need more info, but yes, thank you.
David.
Speaking to the things that the SGA does have the power to do, and this is also referencing one of those specific comments you went over. I can't remember which one that was pressing who is the SGA to decide language or to dictate what language can and can't be used. And I think that comes from the fact of the matter that the SGA at least takes the bulk of the responsibility in controlling the campus's atmosphere and making sure that it is safe and hospitable for all people who live there. And the language that is used, or the language that is produced by our campus, directly affects how things are perceived in campus. Honestly, that's true for the whole world. Wherever you go, the language used changes the perception of what is going on in that area and how people feel about things. And it moves a lot of things. It's very powerful. It's one of those things that you can observe from a distance. But the point of that is saying that we have to take as much responsibility as we can to mitigate those things. That sounds like it's a total violation of freedom of speech. It is not. It is making sure that everyone is literate on these issues that they clearly aren't. So, to the point of these things being condescending, when whoever these people are have a demonstration of some sort or come to us directly with whatever it is that is so against their logic, um, then I think we'll stop being condescending. So a lot of this stuff, like Tatum keeps saying, is stuff that they should already know, that we should already know, that we've been telling them, and there's no reason now for not having the information. So if they continue to think this way when they've shown they've stopped, I think we can stop being condescending.
And Tatum.
I would also like to point out that the Student Government Association is to advocate for students. And if students are upset at something, they go to the people that represent them, to the administration, to fix said issues. So let's remember what the SGA does. The SGA is not just a group of people that just get together every week and just talk about what people are mad about. We are here to represent the students, and if students are upset, they're going to talk to us, and we are going to relay that on to the rest of the student body and the administration. That's literally the one thing that we're doing. And if, like Drake said, if you don't like what we're doing, how about you run and get on the table so that you can put your voice, because that's what me and Piscazzi did. Me and her were both like, we're upset, we're gonna do something. And look at, now I'm a class president and Cassie's a senator. You know, if you want shit done, run. If you are confident in what you want to do and the changes in policies that you want to make, people will elect you. I was elected, like people.
True. Okay, moving forward, I don't see any more hands. Okay. So I'm not going to be censoring my words here. Because they don't, obviously, when they submit them, and I don't care. So you guys are dumbasses. Let's let things be called out for what they are and don't try to sugarcoat anything. Vandalism is a word for vandalism. Things out to be stated as they are and not be changed for emotional response. We want an honest campus that calls out things for what they are, including anything and everything. The Simpsonian stated things as they were and shouldn't be apologized for nor changed for any reason. When you vandalize, you commit vandalism, but spelled commit wrong. Okay, we've already talked about it. Moving forward, the SGA is handling the impeachment of VP, I'm sorry, I'll just restart this sentence. The way SGA is handling the impeachment of VP is undemocratic, albeit constitutional. 2/3 of the EC, which I'm not sure what EC stands for, and I reached
Executive Committee.
There we go.
They mean me and Tatum.
They do. The 2/3 of the executive committee is students who rallied in the initial impeachment discussion and harassment of Jorge online. They do not reflect the majority of students on this campus. Jorge's video on Twitter has gotten hundreds of likes, retweets, and comments, and many of whom are Simpson students, faculty, staff, and alumni. Personally, I don't believe Jorge should be impeached, but what I am asking you is that you make the impeachment process more democratic if you all insist on proceeding with it. The only way you could do that is open up an election poll for the entire student body on the issue. I think the situation is unique in which you have a minority opinion represented on SGA and equally EC, but you probably should also change that part of the Constitution. Students have the power to put both people in office, take them out, and put them in. Okay, in terms of this person actually included their name on it and said they expected a response. I reached out to them. They totally understand what the issue was. And I don't think it's actually necessary for me to share the name, and I think I'm going to keep that confidential. But basically, I reached out to them. They understood what I was saying. They didn't have any follow-up questions, so I'm assuming I made them either agree with me or they just agreed to disagree. I will say, though, that I am not going to be making our process a direct democracy. That will be an absolute mess. And pardon my French, a shit show, I believe. I don't think that anyone really wants a direct democracy, but it sounds like that's what they're suggesting, is opening it up to the entire student body. I don't want to be counting those votes, and I don't think anyone else wants to do that. That's why we elect representatives. We have a representative democracy here on campus, similarly to how we have a representative democracy at Simpson or in the United States and in our state governments. So that's what I've got to say about that. So yes, we will move to Tatum.
I would just like to point out that I never once went on social media harassing Jorge.
I
And
can confirm that she didn't. There was a lot of misinformation, and I reached out to a lot of individuals because they're like, I don't know if they thought because of your beliefs or whatever, but they were, if anything, I think more people were attacking you guys in particular than myself individually. So yeah, if you're watching, whoever sent this video, they did a great job at their job. They did everything constitutionally. They set aside differences, and they went forth and did exactly as a member of that elected position would have done without any bias. I mean, there's always bias, but that's just a different thing. But I mean, they did their job like to 100%. Like, there's nothing better. So just that way people know. And if you're listening, they did a good job. So don't come at them. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
Casey,
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, it was as democratic as an impeachment can be. The petition came from students. And so, like, and to like echo what Piscazi said in the chat, we do not, like, a regular impeachment does not go through a popular vote. Like, that's just simply not how these types of processes work. And I hope that this person has gotten some clarification, because I think there was a lot of misinformation about this when it first happened. But just in general, I just wanted to point out that this did come from a student body, like, signature sheet, whatever. Like, it started with not people on SGA, like, signing a impeachment petition or whatever.
And I would also like to point out, like, just another way. If people, because this is very blatant, if you don't like me on SGA, start a petition to get me impeached. Like, if you don't like me in my position, go ahead and do it. That's your right as a student. And I also want to make it very clear, because I literally cried in this meeting and I sobbed to Jorge, and I was like, I want to let you know that I'm coming at this as the president of the junior class. I took in both sides, and I was literally sobbing to Elliot and Jorge, trying to rack it into their brains that I was not bringing my personal beliefs into that meeting at all. So I want to let everyone know that the whole meeting was completely unbiased, and we did it as an executive group of the Student Government Association, and not a single person's personal beliefs were brought up in that meeting once. So just want to clarify, people cannot speak on behalf of meetings in which they weren't attended. So another thing, please stop harassing me, because I got a death threat from a student, and that's not fucking fun. So that's it.
Okay, moving forward. If there is anyone else that would like to reach out, obviously on this issue, this is still an option to be put on the student or the SGA comment box. So
yeah, but then don't impeach Tatum. You also need constitutional basis to impeach, so you can't just not like somebody and impeach them, because that's not how things work. So yeah, so just because you don't like her, don't get 25 signatures, which is what we need, and try to get her out, because it's just going to be more work for us that we really don't want to go through, because if there's no actual grounds to impeach, it's not going to go forth. So, yes.
Okay, moving forward. I hold the SGA vice president position to a higher standard than I do other positions on campus. Jorge not showing up to the BLM protest and his defensive video for why he did not show up was extremely offensive to me as a person of color. This is not about a socioeconomic status, because I am in the same boat as Jorge. I skipped work to be at the protest, and I can barely pay for this semester at college. This is about Jorge's position as SGA vice president and how he gets paid to be representative of the students. If he isn't getting paid, then that's a problem. He should be. But if he is getting payment for his duties, then he must be present for a big movement like Wednesday's protest. If Jorge is too busy for his position as SGA vice president, then he should step down and allow another POC to run and represent those students. I am demanding his resignation or impeachment on the grounds that he created defensive videos and why he wasn't at the protest, instead of apologizing sincerely for not being there and apologizing to the Black students who feared for their lives in being there. Jorge did not even attempt to be there the next day at the protest outside of Kent Center that were still happening. I am paying through student activities fees for senators and leaders of SGA to be present for those big movements defending POC and Black students on campus. I hope SGA realizes this and will move forward with the impeachment of Jorge. So we did move forward with the impeachment. I believe the other comment that just came up last was why we were still moving forward. If we receive a 25 signatures, whether or not they rescind that or it's still, we received it. It came into our email inboxes, which means we have to move forward with an impeachment. The wheels of that entire machine have already begun moving. So we had to move forward with that regardless. I believe we've already addressed most of the issues regarding Jorge. Everybody in this entire SGA meeting received an in-depth report of what took place. It was included in our minutes last week what the decision was. So that's that. And I don't really know if we need to talk about it anymore. Piscazi can answer anything else or ask another question if she has one, but I think we've addressed most of these issues. So Piscazi, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that no one at the protest wanted anyone to skip work. Like, we understand homies need the bag. Like, go get your bag. That was not the issue at all. I'm sorry if you skipped work. Any future protests, don't skip work. Go to work and get your bag, honey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, and this is the last one. Don't impeach Jorge. He doesn't deserve punishment for being a working class individual. He expressed his support of BLM and Black students on campus, but it isn't reasonable to expect everyone to drop work for a protest. For some of us, one day of work is the difference between eating and going hungry for a week. If you really care about POC on campus, let him remain as VP. We've already addressed it. Also, maybe we can just talk about this for anybody that might be viewing. I've been talked to specifically by individual members of the student body in regards to the question of forcing people to be at the protest if they have to do something like this. I think Pascazi just put it really well. Obviously, no one was forced to if they literally had to be somewhere else. What our expectation really was, and what the leaders of those protests, which many of them are in this chat right now, or in this meeting right now, can attest to, is the expectation to be there if you're literally just going to be sitting in your room doing nothing all day. Like, this is an important event, or was an important event. So honestly, and I totally agree with that. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there in plain like wording. The reason for being there is you should be there. If you have a valid excuse for not being there, nobody's going to come after you for not being there. But if you were just sitting in your room doing nothing, you just didn't want to go because you just didn't want to go, that's not an excuse. You know, this is an important issue. And everybody who isn't like literally working, you know, like keep themselves afloat should be at that protest. So, David.
Yeah, I think some people are forgetting the whole community aspect. Yeah, we're here to learn. That's what a college is. It's an educational institution. But there's also the fact that we have to live here. We have to interact with each other. It shows some efficacy. That is all anybody is asking. So that you acknowledge that and that you care, or that you at least acknowledge that a healthy community is made up of everyone and their concerns are all valid. So just show up. Like with most things, show up. That's all anybody is asking. So
Okay, that is the end of the SJ comment box comments. A reminder, I will be doing these when they come in. I try not to do them in such big spurts like this. If we have like one or two that come in, I'll definitely put them out. And I think when I just put these on, we had two in the chat that I didn't put on. Some of them, I generally don't have a restriction. I can have a restriction if anybody would like me to restrict some of the obviously negative and not helpful at all comments. So just let me know. I guess we can have a mini discussion, but we're already getting a little overtime quite a bit. So seeing none, we will move on. Or you can retake over if you'd like.
Very good. So moving on to the student conduct board, we didn't have enough applicants. So, sorry, just let me see my screen. We did, as mentioned, we didn't have enough applicants. So send another email to vote either this next week or in group me, because we need to get that through, as it is also an important part of what we do. So yes, any questions, people raise their hand. So Rich, is that your hand raised?
No, it is not.
Okay, I don't know the little blue. I've never seen the blue icon.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Very good. So Evan, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to, I don't know like who's talking in the comment section, and like if they're like, I'm kind of picking up on some like classist type things that is being said, and I just want to like make that known that it's kind of just despicable what's going on in the comment section, unless I am reading it wrong. So just want to point that out.
Are you referring to our comment section right now in this chat?
Yes.
Do you have a specific comment that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's Maggie and Casey and Molly. I think they're all like talking about like people can skip their jobs. basically that. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't want to be like calling you out.
You are wrong.
Okay.
They were saying because the
people were
comment
talking about their own jobs and how much money they make.
One person at a time, please.
The comment on the comment box said, if I missed one day of work, like they wouldn't be able to eat for like a whole week. And we were commenting that if our jobs, if we only worked one day, we would not be able to eat. Like we don't make enough at our jobs to work one day and like eat a whole week. Like they are.
Okay.
We're making fun of how poor we are.
Okay, gotcha. I was not understanding. Sorry.
Good clarification. Jorge, you can call on the rest of them.
Tatum, go ahead.
There was a person that reached out to me today who said that he tried to fill out the like form, and then when he submitted like the app, like the form, it said error, and then when he tried to do it again, it said that they could only like do it once. So I wasn't sure if that was a common occurrence, but I would just found out today, and I'm glad that we brought it up again because I honestly forgot about it, but I just wanted to relay that because one of the students that was nominated reached out to me about like the concern and confusion about the application.
Jorge, I've got a response.
Yeah, go ahead.
We might be talking about the same student. If not, then we would have two students that didn't get to fill it out. That must be a WUFU thing. I don't know what's going on there, but we only had 3 individuals fill it out, and they were all from the senior class. We need, per our constitution, I believe 6 members, 1 from each. I believe I could be wrong about that. Let me check quick, but we obviously have not hit that total. We need 1 from each class too, and we do not have that. So I don't really know. We'll probably resend it out to the students. I sent it out, everybody nominated individuals. I sent those to every single person that nominated and only got 3 responses out of those. So it happens.
Yeah, I would suggest sending it out again. Oh, I'm sorry, Jorge.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I would recommend sending it out again because the person that came out to me, he was a junior. So I think it was probably a WUFU problem. So if you could send it out again, I think that would probably be the best idea, if we can.
I can do that too. It's not going to be that hard.
Very good. Are there any other questions or comments regarding Student Conduct Board? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 8, announcements. So very first, I didn't put it in my report, but Ellie and I got an email from Marcia Kelleher, President Kelleher, and then it's basically referring to that Zoom has moved the case to its trust and safety team for review. A search warrant has been executed, and we hope will yield the necessary information to identify individuals who perpetrated the racist act during BSU meeting. Local and federal law enforcement agencies are involved and will provide information when it's found. And then they're expecting an update within 30 days. So Zoom, like the actual, I believe if I'm interpreting this right, the actual Zoom company, like, has moved it up to its trust and safety team review. So whoever does that, like we said, there was maybe some uneasiness of getting local authorities involved, but now it's more than one party being involved in this investigation. So it's just an update on that, and I think that was worthy of announcements. Yeah, probably should have put that in my report, so my apologies, but yeah. Tatum, go ahead.
There's bingo on Friday. First bingo with everyone of the year, and it's gonna be great. I got a lava lamp.
What time is it?
Rich is at like 7, right?
I thought it was 8, but we'll have to check and we'll let everybody know.
Yeah, it's so what it'll be like online, like normally, and then we're gonna like live stream the what are they called? Prizes. And then we'll like take them out real time so that people can see. But I also virtual bingo is confusing, so Rich could probably explain it better than I can.
Also, so you all know, the registration link will be coming out. I just sent it to Natasha a little bit ago. So it should be coming out relatively soon. The thing to remember for anybody who wants to play, they have to sign into the college's account so we can track every single person playing, so that we can ensure that there's nobody who shouldn't be in there. And we can be able to address any issues that may arise with the appropriate folks. So if people are wondering how that is, they have to go in and sign in with a SSO in Zoom as opposed to just signing into whatever account. If they sign in with their general account that they may have with a Gmail, it won't let them in.
Very good. Jordan, go ahead.
Yo, what's up? Your daily follow COVID protocol, stay 6 feet apart, wash your hands, sanitize, wear a mask. Yeah.
Thank you. Pascasi, go ahead.
Register to vote or get your absentee ballots.
The sooner the better, guys, as well. Yeah, I'm just writing some stuff in the chat, so I don't speak Hebrew, so I don't know if it's Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah is this Friday.
Close enough.
Sorry, my apologies. English is also second language, so yeah. RLC is also giving out free shirts and masks outside the library, outside of Dunn, tomorrow and Friday. Free, once again. Yeah. Any other
And
announcements?
I designed those, so everyone from FGA better grab one, or I will quit.
Corey's got it.
Yes. Any other announcements from you guys?